Hello, Homestead. I'm Greg Giglio, principal of Homestead High School, and here with our short week video. It's only Wednesday, it's November 10th, but we do have a video here for you, and there's a blast coming home. So obviously there's a blast coming home or you wouldn't have this video. But I'm going to actually do our video here. So sorry, I got distracted by a buzz there. So this is, I said, November 10th, and we do have some questions and answers here for you. So let's get going on them. Our shout outs, we have a couple this week. We had one to the administrative team and teachers for working extra hard to get all the letters of rec submitted for the early decision, early application deadline. That one was November 1st. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, because there was also a concern about it. So I'm going to address that as well. But that is a lot of time and dedication that goes there. So thank you for that shout out. A special thank you to Marissa Amasquita for her professionalism and patience. And Marissa is one of our guidance counselors. She is for students A through F. So thank you, Marissa. And then there was a general one here about keep up the excellent work monitoring and responding to the COVID-19 cases and keeping school open. It has been successful. So we agree and glad to help keep safe. We'll continue doing that. And so now we're going to move on to our questions and concerns. It was this concern as final week is unbearable for students with extra time accommodations. Even with enrichment time, having 2 tests back to back of 3 hours each is harder than college. And so let me do a little explanation here. The extra time accommodations, those are for students who might have learning disabilities as part of a 504 or an IEP in special ed. And so not everybody has these extra things, but the enrichment time isn't just about those who need extra time. The enrichment time is there for all students, but it does help with students who get time and a half to do some of their work. But here's a couple clarifications. Yes, finals are definitely stressful and they're hard work because they're your final grade and trying to get things up or not get your grade lowered. But the periods are 2 hours long, and not every single one of them is 2 hours. So there might be an hour-long test or a 45-minute long test, and there are other work being done in there. And not every class does a final test. They might actually be doing some sort of a alternative assessment where they may be doing a discussion or a presentation or different things. So also equally stressful in some cases. But again, it's not always just sitting there and testing, and it's not usually straight 2 hours worth of testing. So again, we do have finals starting at 9 o'clock. So again, hoping that kids get some extra sleep in and are able to study and be ready and fresh for the next day. There are breaks built in through the day. Testing periods are 2 hours long. So again, it's not 3 hours long. And it's not like back to back. There's only 2 in a day, and on the last day there's only 1 final. But again, not every student is going to have 6 or 7 finals during that finals week. Please do not wait while submitting college application materials to the last day. Submitting materials as they become available will reduce the stress for many families. And yes, college applications is another super stressful time, and it is a time where all of us are working really hard to get the deadlines. Now, one of the issues coming up is you see up on my answer part over there on the green side that we have multiple deadlines that we as the admin team and the counselors or the teachers are facing when we're writing these letters. We have the early admission, early decision, which is November 1st. So that one has come and gone. That's a really super stressful one because you have a shortened period of time to do all the work. And then we've got 11/15, we got 12/1, 11/1. So there's different ones that start coming up. And obviously, as you get moving through, you have more time to do it. There's fewer students at that point. But really what does happen is when we're doing letters of rec, we are scheduling interviews, we are sitting down talking with kids, we're going through files that they have where they, all that stuff on Naviance that they look at and they create, we look at that. We sometimes will go out and get staff feedback on certain kids to get to know a little bit more. So it does take about 3 to 5 hours for each of the kids that when we write these letters. Some people can do them more quickly, some people can do them more slowly, but that's sort of the general knowledge, about 3 hours to get things done. So if I'm doing 30 kids, that's 90 hours worth of work. So yes, we would like to get them out and done, but we don't have time to just sit during the day and do a full day of writing. So that is one of the reasons why a lot of this work is getting done on weekends and evenings, and it does take a while to get it done. So yes, we try to get it in as quickly as we can, but it's a process and it's going to take some time. And We will get it done. We promise it's not going to not get done. That is part of our responsibilities. But again, you do have stress on this. I haven't missed a deadline yet. I don't know that others have either. If they have, please let me know, and I will follow up on that. But again, it is a lot of work. We are doing it. We try to get it out there as quickly as possible. But for that 11/1 deadline, where the thing comes up pretty darn quick, because really we only have about a month worth of time to really, once we get student names, which we know who's doing all that work, it takes some time, is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, we will do as best we can. This person wrote about, in the light of the bleak outlook and the great efforts presented in Scotland at the COP26 climate conference, how can HHS students and parents engage in lifestyle changes to combat the global climate crisis? For example, transportation, find new ways to encourage and reward students to bike or walk to work with VTA to improve bus schedule around school start and etc. So we do a lot of that work, and there is a lot of things that we at Homestead really try to do to encourage and to also do our part around climate change and that kind of stuff. So, we do encourage carpools and alternatives to driving, biking, skating, scooting, walking. In terms of giving, rewards or that kind of thing, that's not really what we can do. There's a limitation on things that we can actually use public funds to give to students. And so buying them treats or rewards to do that isn't really something that's allowable, but we definitely encourage it because it would help with traffic, that kind of thing. But we've done a lot of things here on our campus. We have installed solar panels that we've been using for the last 10 to 12 years here. We've done things like low flow faucets and toilets that definitely helpful during the drought times, as well as our artificial turf fields. Yes, those can be expensive when you put them in, and our turf fields are about 10 to 12 years old now, so they're getting ready to be replaced, but they do save a ton of money on maintenance and water and that whole kind of thing. We have also just placed in a whole bunch of electric vehicle charging stations, both on the access road and the student lot. So again, we're trying to get people to come and use their electric cars. So again, students and staff can do it during the day, and community members can come on weekends or evenings and charge their cars. So again, hopefully encouraging people to have some local charging stations. We do also have a recycling program on our campus that we try to follow and do. We also have gone to a lot of paperless forms. So we're trying to do a lot of these things. So again, we would encourage you to do that. Again, I think this is one of those things that's a personal choice, though, and we can't force people to do it, but we try to be a role model here, and hopefully some of that rubs off on all of you as well. So if you have any other ideas or thoughts about things that we can be doing, please let us know. And we'll take a look. A lot of the buildings that we're doing, by the way, I didn't mention this either. A lot of the buildings we're looking at some energy saving devices and ways to make them more energy efficient. I wouldn't go so far as to label them green buildings. That's a whole other process, but we do a lot of green construction work. So that's another place that we also do stuff. One of the questions was, why aren't parents told what the advisory topics will be? We do talk about those, but we probably I'm happy to keep talking about it. So I will let you know, and you can see the list here in a second, but even seeing the presentation will help parents with conversations they have with their children. So in September, we did an introduction to advisory and some icebreakers. In October, we had a sexual harassment awareness presentation. This November and next week is going to be our next advisory, and that's going to be on gratitude. And then we have our mental health team working on one for December about self-efficacy or believing in yourself. I am putting links to the September and October ones in the blast, so you can go take a look at what those were. I will put out the November one next week because it hasn't gone through yet. So we're still tweaking it a little bit. And again, I want to save what we're doing for the kids to see that with their advisory teachers, and then we'll share that out with you next week. And then once we get the December one and do that one, I'll also put that one out as well. So good idea, and we will make sure that it's out there. And if you can talk it over with your kids, that'd be great. That would be a help to us as well too. There was a concern listed about the grad night party that PTSA is hosting. So the PTSA is asking families to pay a minimum of $150 to go to a grad night party. HHS has a food pantry because there are students whose families cannot afford food, but they're being asked to spend $150 for a party. Why was this ever approved? Well, PTSA is actually the one that runs the food pantry too. So they do both programs. But the long history actually of the grad night party is something that goes way back, even before many of us were here, and back when I was even in high school. This was a means for sober graduation. There was a big concern and issue with students who were having there was an increase in drunk driving incidents and accidents on graduation night. So Mothers Against Drunk Driving created these grad night things, and actually PTSA has been doing it for years. And so that was, again, a means to try and keep kids safe, and it's been a pretty effective program. So it's not a brand new thing. It's been going on for years. It is voluntary. Your kid does not have to go to it, but it's a pretty rewarding end of high school experience. And I know a lot of kids have a great time. The money does go towards a lot of different costs. So it's not a free event, because there is food and drink that's provided. There is a location reservation that they have to pay for. There is entertainment at these events too. There are prizes and gifts, as well as even transporting kids to areas. So there are costs involved. And so they're not making a profit. They are actually, covering those costs. And I'll show you an email here in a second. I'll give more information. But the PTSA does have scholarships available if kids want to go, but they maybe don't have the means. They were happy to try and work with that. And I can show you that here in just a second. So again, this was the email that they sent out, or I think this was maybe a bulletin announcement. But this gives all the same information. If you want to pause the video here and you can take a look, they have emails, they have information, and they do have a rising ticket price here. So it starts at $150 and it goes to $200 as the closer you get to that, to the actual thing. So it would be good to actually try and get that $150 in at this point. But here's the emails in there. They talk about, how to get all the information, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a fun party. It's definitely something I would encourage folks to do. It's a long running tradition, and it is a great time. So the PTSA puts a lot of time and effort into it. So I really appreciate their efforts. Question about COVID. So we've had 9 COVID cases so far. Where are they originating? Are the students at random classrooms, or is it from one location, like the same class or a single club, or predominantly from sports? This would be helpful to know, so students may stay away from those places or activities where COVID is present. And, when we're looking at these cases, they have been seemingly random. We're not seeing a pattern. We're not seeing them all come from, say, the lacrosse team. We don't have a lacrosse team, but, if we had a lacrosse team, if everybody on the lacrosse team got it, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing mostly is the kids are getting infected from home or outside and coming to school. It seems to be other family members or home members that are the ones that are getting our kids sick. We're not really seeing positive cases coming from those close contacts. So we send out information like your kid was a close contact to somebody who tested positive. We're not getting infections based in positive cases based on those. So it does seem to be pretty random. It does seem to not be any trouble spots, that kind of thing. So I don't know that there's a place. Again, if you can, make sure your kid is vaccinated. Make sure they're wearing a mask, and following all those the good rules, washing hands and that kind of stuff. That is and again, we're still keeping up on our HVAC system, so we're seeing pretty much random. So no patterns. What is the general timeline that teachers are supposed to return tests, essay results? With finals coming, can you make it a rule that all results of tests, essays, project must be returned before another set of tests are given? Then students can use any mistakes they make on the test essay to learn from and improve for the next test assessments. Some teachers take 2 to 3 weeks or so to return results. That seems long. To be honest, there is no general timeline. There are different, the different lengths to how long it takes to grade a paper. How many, if you have 5 sections of one class and you're trying to grade 180 essays, or you are trying to do a certain type of grading, it might take a little bit longer than, say, a quiz and just automatically giving a grade to like a Scantron kind of thing. It is a best practice, though, to get assessments back to people before the next one. I would hope that's happening. 2 to 3 weeks actually doesn't sound like a really long time to me. I'll be honest. But if you're saying that there's tests going on more than 2 to 3 weeks, that sounds more excessive to me than it takes them to grade them. So I would assume that if they're doing a test, you're not going to have another test within that particular time, but there might be a reason. It might be a totally different test. So who knows? Everybody, though, even if they don't necessarily return the test because they might be doing a common formative assessment, will review those tests and go over them in class. They often share those practices. And again, if you want to get more information from the teacher, that's what tutorial can be used for, or you can set up a separate appointment to go over some of that. But to be honest, when he says, can you make a rule? No, actually, I can't make that rule. The grading and the pacing of the classing is the area of the teachers' professional opinion and judgment. And so again, if they're taking, if they don't return any tests, yeah, that's a problem that I can sit down and talk to. But as the principal, I don't have the authority to say you will grade tests in a week and get them back. While that might sound like a simple thing, it really is a little bit more complicated. But again, I would check with those individual teachers. If there's a specific teacher that is not doing that, is giving out multiple tests and they haven't returned them, maybe let me know that in an email. I can go have a conversation with that teacher and see what's going on. But for the most part, our teachers do return them. They do also take their time on there because they want to make sure they are thoroughly grading them and giving them feedback that can be useful. So it is a little bit of a push me, pull me situation there where trying to do a thorough job in the grading, and it might take a little bit longer than if you just ran it through a Scantron. So, but again, if there's a specific issue, let me know, but there is no rule that says they have to have it done in a certain time. Question here about who are the department heads of each subject, especially for core classes like math, science, English, and history. What are they responsible for, and what important decisions do they make? Well, here's our list of department leads. We call them department leads. It used to be department chairs, but the full term is department curricular lead. And so I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. But as you can see, all our leads here, we have Claire D, who oversees art. We have Byron Lee in business. For English, it's Debbie Vani. For our English learner department, it's Grace Henson. Connie Murray is our math DL. John Byrne is our music DL. Kyle Bonvecchio oversees PE. In resource department, which is also our special ed department, but we call it resource. So just so that you understand that, that's Janice Swearingen. In science, it's Dara Elaine Levy. In social studies, it's Mark Gonzalez. And for world languages, it's Muriel von Stein. And again, if you need to email one of these people because you have questions for them, just use their first name and last name with an underscore in the middle. So like Kyle Bonvecchio would be Kyle_Bonvecchio at fuhsd.org. Now, in terms of what some of the things they do, they are curricular leads. So they do help guide their departments in terms of some of the curricular choices that is going on, or the pacing, or what is being taught, or what are the important things that need to be taught. They also work with our administration and our guidance team to build teacher schedules at those times of the year. They oversee the collaboration that the teachers are doing on those late starts. And we will also work on things and help give input or make decisions on school-wide decisions or policies. So it is a pretty big role. And again, they oversee the entire department, and they really help us make curricular decisions and really help us kind of do things in terms of building the master schedule and that kind of thing. So that's a general overview of what they do. Talking about giving feedback and input, we would like you, both parents and students, to fill out the tutorial survey that's going to be coming home in the email today, so, or in the email blast. For parents, that link will be in the email blast. For students, I'm going to email it to them. But there is a survey. We want to get some opinions about tutorial. What are some ways that we can improve it, make it a little bit better? We've sent a survey out to our staff as well. So we're trying to get a big bunch of information. So you have to the end of the month, the end of November, to try and fill that out and give us information back. So please do that. Please look for that survey and try and fill that one out. That brings us to our important dates. And some of this, again, is getting to be a lot repetitive because this has been on there for a few times. But again, we have our 4-day weekend this weekend. We have our advisory next week, which I mentioned is the gratitude advisory. We have a talent show coming up on the 19th, as well as a big date for seniors. Your senior portraits and senior ads are due for the yearbook. So please make sure you get those taken and done if you're interested in having your senior portrait or an ad for your graduating senior in there. That brings us to Thanksgiving holiday. There'll be a special schedule on that Wednesday. We finish a little bit earlier. And then on the 24th and 25th, we're off enjoying our turkey celebrations, hopefully. The following week, there's going to be some presentations by our guidance department to sophomores in the World Lit classes. Then we got a bunch of different performances going on here. We got the choir winter performance, the jazz performance, the orchestra band. You can see the dates for those. We also have a week's worth of Spirit Week, the week of December 6th. That's our Winter Wonderland Spirit Week. It culminates with a rally. We also have finals coming up, as we mentioned. That's the end of the term there, the week of the 13th. And then our final day is the 16th, and that's the night of winter formal as well, too. So again, I hope you all enjoy your short week and your long weekend. And if you have a need, or not a need, if you have a family member or someone a friend who is a veteran, please thank them for their service, as we've done here on campus as well, too. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.